So the queue is actually open, so I am ready if anyone needs a reading. Now, what I'll do is we'll take our character and we will stroll into this suspect looking business. Let me in. There we go. It's a little on the cramped side in here, but whatever. It's all right. I guess I'll sit. I'll sit there again. All right. All right. Now, I'm going to use real cards. I'm going to leave him there, and I'm going to switch my cam. Got the darn camera so low. It's actually hard to shuffle under the camera. Let's look at it right side up. Queen of Wands. Wands are the creative, fiery spirit. Underneath everything you do, every pursuit. Wands are the pursuit. They are the looking to get things done, to make stuff. They're whatever drives you to work in your field, pursue whatever it is you love to do. They're the fire underneath. They're also, just passion and the driving sort of force when you see someone you want to, be closer to. That, and these things mix from suit to suit. So you've got cups there playing with the heart, and then that is sort of intertwined with the fire, the passion, the drive from the wands, but also then they start to interact with swords and how it changes your thought process. You try to figure out what to say, how to approach a situation, how to get closer to something or someone. It also moves into coins because then you've got like real physical, touch and, who's going to pay for dinner? You've got those practical concerns there. So the wands, though, they're trying to say, okay, think about the driving force, the energy that you need to call upon to do something, get somewhere. And the queen, and I'm totally willing to do this with the tarot to say, okay, there are differences between queens and kings, and say that the queens kind of have a more less heavy-handed approach, or less cut and dried approach, maybe. And so their descriptive terms are sort of hovering around supportive, creative, enriching, nourishing. What else? They tend to be, and I don't mean supportive in the sense of secondary. I mean supportive in the sense that they're totally free to acknowledge and respect and love what other people are doing, equal to their own. You know what I mean? It's that kind of supportive. They have a calmer approach. They tend to take on sort of typical ideas we have pretty much mainly in the Western world of motherhood. And they take on those aspects, what we think of, and sometimes in a slightly overly romanticized way, about mothers and how they handle situations with kids and just people in general, how they tend, the general idea there is what sort of starts to color these cards. And I think that you can't fully ignore those things with tarot. You can't be completely experimental, because then you lose, just completely experimental interpretations of tarot. They lose. They fly off like balloons. They don't have that grounding in tradition, even if the tradition sometimes seems a little too limiting or old or something. Those sort of tie downs that things have actually provide a calm, secure sense. And the tarot is really good at that. The tarot has places where you can sort of launch off and fly like a bird and experiment, but you keep coming back. You keep getting pulled back to the ground. And I have a thing that actually plays a role that I didn't even realize until after I'd done it in a card I drew. And I'm not going to show my tarot deck until it's fully printed. But after having finished that one, I was like, oh, I see what I meant there. And it has to do with this idea of being grounded. But grounding can come and there can be a terrible price for being too rooted. But that's what tarot is constantly doing, which is so interesting. It uses these silly cards and images to kind of throw the two different things at you, all the different interpretations that you can make constantly with everything. Nothing is ever quite as it seems with tarot. And that is why I don't like it when people do things that are too literal. Like there are some nice books about tarot, and although some of them are cloying. But there's a famous one I read by a Spanish filmmaker guy, Jodorowsky. And he's kind of, that guy's a little silly. He's also a little dangerous because he presents himself as a therapist, and he's not. You can't just pretend to be a fucking therapist. You have to have a license. You have to You have to, you know, and to go around calling yourself a therapist is extremely dangerous behavior. You can really damage people with that kind of nonsense. And this guy does that. No, he's not. He's a writer and filmmaker. And he's a tarot card reader. But when he starts to talk about his therapy, it's like, dude, somebody needs to punch you in the mouth and shut you up. Because that's not what you... That's like running around calling yourself a lawyer and you haven't been to law school. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. Okay? You can't call yourself a surgeon and offer somebody heart valve advice if you're not. Okay? So this guy, he gets Hodorovsky, however you say his name, he gets a lot of free passes when people really ought to be calling him on his bullshit. And he wrote this book, and you know, half of it is good, and you can learn a lot about tarot and sort of get your and it encourages you to develop your own ideas. But, you know, he did this thing where he found a Tarot de Marseille, one of these decks. But the deck he found was more, hang on, like this. It was more sort of like this version, and but this is the Ben Bovey version. But so they they get all wound up in trying to revamp or repair the images of the Tarot de Marseille deck, which this is an example of. And they get real nitpicky, and I don't quite believe a lot of it. I think they found like some images and they started tracing them and messing with them and coloring them in and making their own decisions. But they start to focus in on little things, little tiny things. And he talks about them in the book, and he goes in and he says, well, the queen's robe has a little point on it right here. And this is just an example. This is how a little point pointing downward at where her foot would be, but her foot is hidden under the robe, and therefore it means that she's not planted on the ground because her foot is hidden under blue, no less, which represents spirituality. So this means she's actually not part of the earth. She's of the spiritual realm. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Some of the things you're pointing out are probably printer's errors. Like sometimes they'll say, well, there's a little circle down in the lines in there, and that represents, you know, the planet Uranus. And I'm like, no, that's just a little thing the printer, you know, it's like, come on, you can't do that. That just starts to get asinine. And people tend to get that way with tarot. It can lead to this looking at the individual bricks and cracks in the wall and never seeing the house. And, you know, this is a picture of a queen sitting down, holding a club and wearing a crown. The particular colors she's wearing, you're at risk if you start getting too analytical about them, because from one printer to the next, they make different color decisions, and their inks are off. Now, if you want to get clever, one could say, well, that's the printer's ink was off by accident for a reason, just the same way you're picking something out of a deck at random. So it all matters. It's all the universe, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah. But it's, you know, you're still writing a book and basing ideas and analysis of the tarot on what probably amount to printers' decisions and printer errors along the way, and distortions of things as they were printed from printing to printing to printing over years and years and years. So you know, so cleaning something up like that, dangerous. You're much better off dispensing with this, throwing this deck out if you're worried about it, and make your own. That's what I decided. make your own deck. It's only 78 pictures. It seems really insurmountable mountain when you start, but it's 78 pictures. It gets, it's harder than one would think, actually. Because there are two things going on when you do a tarot deck. There's the majors, the major cards. Let me put this deck away. There's hold on. There's cards like the Hermit. And then there's cards like the number cards. Like there. The Six of Wands. And how do you approach this deck if you're going to make a deck? How symbolic do you want to be? Do you want to even be symbolic with the major cards? These. How do you want to show those pictures? Now, I like major cards that are pictures of something, it doesn't have to be pictures of a person. I just like them to be illustrative. I also like symbolically structured number cards and court cards. I like them to be sort of along the lines of this Tarot de Marseille. But you have to pick your symbology, You don't want to reproduce what these folks did hundreds of years ago in this deck. You have to do something on your own. And how do you do that? Do you go for a very simple, clean, stark look? Or do you do something a little bit more dense? And then how does that in your deck balance? How does that look alongside the majors that you've done? Are they completely clashing? They can be different. But is there some relationship between them? Or do they look like two completely separate artists did two separate decks? It's very difficult, actually, to get those things working together in one deck. And I also think it's hard to do a deck. What happens is, if you notice, most of the famous decks, the really famous decks that people use for the longest periods of time, are the least professionally artistic and fine-tuned. They tend to have an awkward crudeness to them. And whenever I see a tarot deck that's very sleek and polished and airbrushed and fully photoshopped or superbly illustrated, I get squeamish. I get nervous. I don't like it. I'm like, that's, wow. I completely ignore it. Then I see a tarot deck that's sort of a little rough around the edges, and then those are the ones I gravitate toward. There's one called Tattoo Tarot that has a quality like that. There's one called the Crow Tarot that kind of has that. But there's always something a little sort of slightly off about the decks that appeal to me. And I think that that's because when there is a little bit of crudeness to them, it brings the deck, it in a way makes the deck more approachable to a person. It reminds them slightly of childhood and child art, which right there already has an immediate effect on the brain. And it allows a fuzziness of interpretation, more so than a perfectionist, highly professional, perfect composition and perfection of surface. Those things tend to push away the slightly childish frame of mind you have to be in for tarot to operate. You can't be too professional and serious when it comes to tarot. There has to be that sense of play going on, you know. So I think that's one of the important things. Let me just check. So when I approach the tarot, I mean, look, with me, when I do a deck, that's what you're going to get anyway. I'm not gonna produce a super sleek thing. Because I wouldn't be able to. So that's something I like about this old deck. Now this is a deck that is old, but it's been colored, you know, more recently by someone, printed. And it kind of has a nice quality, but there are problems I have with it. Some of the cards are ugly. I don't know. But so doing my own struck me as really the best approach. I think Jodorowsky's approach is sort of foolish, to go to the Tarot de Marseille and say, we've now got the actual Tarot de Marseille. We fixed it. That's just stupid. And because you don't know that, you know, come on, guy. You can sell your book any number of ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. I just don't like that guy who's inspired a lot of people, and he's probably made a lot of money selling his tarot book. But this therapy thing, it's like, God, you know. And I'd love to meet the guy, because as soon as that word came out of his mouth, I'd be all over the guy. Now, of course, in Spain, they probably have some loophole where you can go to a few classes and call yourself something along those lines without actually being the full thing. I don't know how that might work. Nonetheless, whatever the excuse, it's really irresponsible. I'm not going to talk to some guy about, you know, look, this guy does it to himself, man. Jodorowsky. He talks on YouTube, on videos and stuff, about treating people and telling them to walk around with gold coins on their shoes, and so they can hear them click on the floor to help heal them. I mean, it's just complete and utter outrageous stupidity. But the problem is that kind of stuff circulates around tarot too much. And instead of encouraging it, it really ought to be smacked down, because it's dumb. And tarot, as I keep saying, is 78 pictures. And, you know, they have some numbers, sure. And the fun thing also is with tarot is with the numbers, you can you have an attitude about the numbers, so they call that numerology. And numerology, actually, I find, I don't know anything about any of this other than the fact that in my tarot work, I've tried to sort of hammer myself into a system. Because when you get to those number cards, you kind of need one. If you just start fucking around and making stuff up all over the place with the number cards, it just becomes a real bore, and it just becomes a loose free-for-all. And it really shouldn't be. It's those are numbered cards, and they need to be treated as numbered cards with a numeric structure, and which means you have to have an idea about where those numbers come down in reality and what they represent in general. And so you start to look at things people are saying about the numbers and about elements and water, fire, and all this stuff, and some of it gets real hokey, but some of it starts to sort of go, well, I actually see that about numbers. So if I look at the 6, the number 6 in general kind of has a rather easygoing quality about it, even the way it's written. In Arab 6 with that sort of swoosh. It's a very nice, gentle shape. These Roman numerals, that's the thing. In my tarot deck, I don't use fucking Roman numerals. We don't use Roman numerals. You only use a Roman numeral when you're trying to show off something. If you're going to write a 6, you don't write it this way, like they did when they were trying to be fancy 300 years ago. You write it like a goddamn 6. And that's what I do on my tarot deck. I write it like a goddamn 6. But 6 is... I'm rambling on, and Nikki wants a reading, and I... Okay, I got to shut myself up, because Nikki is actually doing what we're supposed to be doing here and saying, hey, man, shut up about the tarot deck and give me a reading. So, Nikki, I'm shutting my mouth, and I'm ready to answer your question. Go ahead. Give it to me. Take these cards off. So I think, Nikki, when you ask, if you're still there, if you haven't gotten bored with my chit chat and run away, I'm shuffling the cards right now, and I'm going to do the reading right there on the cloth that you're seeing with the physical cards instead of doing my digital thing. Nikki probably ran away, but that's okay. I have to get better at looking over at the. I have 2 screens. I have one directly in front of me. Oh, hi, Nikki. You need to know if you'll be safe tomorrow. Well, okay. Now, listen. The first thing you need to know is the tarot does not tell you what to do to be safe in a given situation. It would be too dangerous to do that. And whether or not you will be safe. So if you were going into some situation somewhere or taking some risk, the tarot would have no real business telling you whether that would be okay. Okay, so but the tarot can tell you things to keep in mind, to say, hey, you know what? Have you thought about this? The tarot reminds you to ponder and to consider certain things. And now you're talking about work. Okay, so so this kind of thing, safety at work is really a professional advice thing. There are people that can tell you whether or not you'll be safe at work, if it's medically related or work safety related. And I'm sure you know that, because if you have a job, chances are you're smart enough to know all that. So I'm sure you understand that tarot is not going to tell you. For instance, if you're a construction worker and you were going to go up for your first day on a crane tomorrow, and go out on the crane to tie something to a lever, and you had to use a safety harness, and are you going to be safe? The tarot would not give you that kind of professional advice. We would have no business saying, yeah, you're going to be totally fine because that safety equipment is all perfect. We have no idea. You know, your employer could have allowed that safety equipment to rot for 6 years and it could break. And but the tarot can say to you, you know, I'll pull 3 cards, and it'll suggest things like little reminders, like, hey, you know, what about this? What about that? And so the general idea here is you have some kind of concern about what you may be doing tomorrow. So let's start here. Let's pull okay, so here we have the Star on the left. We have the Fool in the middle. Okay. Now, what these cards say to me, right off we've got 2 big cards on the left, middle, 2 big major arcana cards. Those are parts of you. Those are interior to you. Those are parts of your personality, but these are upside down. Okay, now the Star is a guiding force. It's basically your ability to find direction. And so, but also your ability to sort of benefit others and share and bring things to people that enhance them, that improve and feed others in some way and give them what they need. But the main thing about a star is its guiding property. It's there in the night. Sailors use it for navigation. It's the idea of finding your way. Now, there's an issue here because it's reversed. So this idea of finding your way and being able to sort of use what you know to be helpful, there's some sort of an issue there. There's like a nervousness about it, not knowing exactly, you know, maybe what the card is warning you about here is there's some doubt about exactly where to go. I don't know if this is for tomorrow specifically, but there's a slight nervousness about finding the right direction or where exactly you might need to be. That's what this card is saying. Hey, just keep that in mind. It's not saying you can't find the direction or you will find the direction. It's saying just remember this part of things, this part of yourself. Think about it tonight. How do you find your way? How do you find your path, your direction? This could be something as simple as GPS in a car. It just is saying, there's an issue here. There's some nervousness about that. Keep that in mind. And then it's saying here, you've got the Fool. And this is very upfront. This is very much right in your face sort of part of this issue. The Fool is the first card in the tarot deck. And it represents the stepping out into something new and doing it with a kind of abandon and a kind of lack of concern for what might happen. Now, it's upside down though, which means you are concerned. you're having a hard time just stepping out into something without worry. You're worried. You're nervous. You're a little concerned. That's why this thing is upside down. It kind of fits actually with what your question suggests to me. And so here's the fool who wants to, and it's not fool in a negative way, like he's stupid. It's fool in a sort of an innocent way, a naive way, like I'm going to just go and do this adventure, and I know it's going to be crazy, but I can just do it, and I only have to bring one change of clothes with me, and I'm only going to bring a candy bar and one bottle of water. I'm going to get out there and just do it. I don't care, man. This little dog is yapping at my pants here. You can see the little dog is like biting on him there, and right here, and he's like, but that dog's coming with me. That dog's having a great time, and I don't care if he's like scratching me. He's having too good a time for me to yell at him. That's what the fool represents, that enthusiasm, that sort of carefree way of approaching life. But you don't have that. It's upside down. And this card is saying, remember, there's this thing in you that's holding you up. You're getting to the door, you're opening it, the dog is right behind you, and you're like, wait, are those clouds over there on the horizon? Do I really want to walk that way? I don't know. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe Okay, so trouble with direction, trouble with being able to sort of just let yourself freely engage in something and do the work for the benefit of whomever. Hesitation to actually step into the task. Not quite able to enjoy the process. That's what these cards are suggesting. However, the next thing we come to, which is coming up in the immediate future, which could mean tomorrow, is the Four of Cups. Now, cups are where your heart is. They're like the joy, the love, the whole idea of doing what you love to do, all your feelings around it, even negative emotions, all that sort of stew pot of emotion and feeling. But the four is a number of certainty and stability, solidity. So that four there suggests a kind of a balance and a security. The four is an inherently safe number. It represents the four posts of the foundation for a building or a house. It can also represent the thing you're being a little too safe, but usually when it's right side up, that problem isn't there. When it's right side up like it is in your reading, it indicates solid sense of perfection, and but it's focused on how you feel about things. So what the card sort of suggests to me is that you trust your feelings, you trust your instincts. And the card is backing that up. It's saying, trust those instincts. Those are the important ones. So if there's a holdup here in your ability to find the right way to go, and that probably happens to you a lot because this is a major card, and there's also a holdup as you're exiting the door to go into tomorrow, you can't quite do it with a free and open attitude. The four is saying, pay attention to those. Those are your instincts talking. Be very, very, very cautious because you have a very solid, trusting knowledge of your own heart and your own instinctive gut knowledge. That's what that four is telling you. And it's saying, rely on that. And if you feel something tomorrow morning or this evening, if you feel something, if something is in you, talking to you, listen to it and trust it, because that's what that 4 is all about. So the tarot doesn't tell you whether or not something is safe. The tarot talks about how you can think about things and remind yourself of things and trust your own instincts, your own knowledge, your own ability to recognize the reality of a situation. And that's that solid, grounded 4, where you're like, if I'm afraid of something, then damn it, then anybody should be afraid of it. And we need to be very, very careful, because I know damn well that my feelings about something like this are absolutely true and real and can be considered appropriate. And so I'm going to pay attention to them. That's how I would read the 4 if it were me. So there you are, Nikki. You know, your work and your own feelings about your work, you know what they are. And you know what the risks are. And, you know, if you have certain feelings about something or suspicions, or then that 4 is telling you to pay very solid, close, trusting attention to those concerns. I hope that helps a little bit and gives you... the tarot is food for thought. That's generally what it is. It gives you food for thought. Yes, Peach, what you need to do is... That's right. Hallie Tanner joined the queue. What you do is you type an exclamation mark and then join, and you get... Okay, so let me take... Okay, I have a queue now. Okay, so we've done Nikki. Now, Hallie Tanner, you're next on the queue line. I turn this to... I'm going to turn the light to... I think white light will work better for the reading. A love reading. Of course you can get a love reading. Why not? I mean, we have cups right here in the tarot deck. Of course, they may not even come up in your reading. You never know what a reading is going to do. While you get your question going, I'm going to shuffle these cards. Of course. Let's see what these cards have for us. I'm actually not a very good shuffler. Let me try I'm not bad. I'm fine. I just don't do it as fast as some people do. you writing your question, Hallie? Peach Panku, you're next. Oh, you don't have. Oh, you just want a general love reading, Hallie? Is that you don't have a specific question? You just want a general reading. Is that? Am I right? Ah, okay. A connection. Oh, you're okay. How's my partner feeling about our connection? All right. The tarot is going to. Oh, okay, a general. Yes, general in the for a love sort of thing, it's usually better to be sort of general because the tarot really doesn't tend to want to give specific sort of predictions about what some other third person may or may not do or want. The tarot really speaks to you, to the person asking the question. It speaks to and about you in the moment of your interaction with the tarot reader, in this case, me. And oh, your chats are slow. Yeah. Okay, so a general reading. Let's start pulling cards. Okay. We've got swords happening on the left. We've got a page of swords. Both of these are communication, thinking, belief, conflict. And then we have the wands showing up at the end, reversed, upside down, the King of Wands. So we've got a lot of thinking and some a lot of thought going on. And we've got this thing at the end here, which is the creative, passionate sort of part of the drive. The energy you pour into a relationship, the creative energy that you pour into a relationship. Creative energy isn't just spent doing things like writing poems and drawing pictures. It's also put into interactions with people. There's an art to that. There's a creative energy to how you do your relationships and how you communicate. There's a certain art there. There's a certain level, as you gain experience, that plays a role in how you build those things. But there's a lot of creative energy that is used in your approach to any relationship. You build a relationship. You can see this sort of in a very simplified way when people say things like, okay, so let's try and have a more exciting life for the next couple of months and do new things. And let's go find some place to explore together. And that'll be good for us. And we'll go and we'll find new places to wander or new galleries to go to, or even just a new restaurant to go to, or let's go explore a new mall, whatever. It's just that sense of wanting to sort of create a more interesting story when you start to get a little bored. That's creative energy. And that's what this is talking about in the wands over here. But let's start where we start, on the left. And we're talking here, the 3 of Swords. Okay, 3 in tarot is very, very active. It's an explosion of energy to do something. It's saying, I don't want to sit back anymore. I want to leap up and go out and get crap done and meet people and whirl and do all my stuff. Okay, that's what threes are. They get up out of the house and they go out and do stuff. And this is there's thought here. You want to communicate. The three of swords is saying, because when we're talking about love here, which involves communication and interaction and expressing yourself. If there are things you don't like, you have to express them. The things you like, you have to express them. You have to have this communication. You have to. Otherwise, you can't build the story. You can't be creative in a relationship where you don't have the communication and the language going. There's really very few such things as a good relationship with two silent people. Just, because you have to, if you're going to be silent, then you better be writing it on note paper, because you got to have the communication. And that's what the three is saying. It's saying, hey man, use that instinct you have, that skill you have in communicating, and get out and really just go right straight for it and talk. It's saying, do it without fear, express, and make it clear what you want. If there's conflict, face it straight up and take action. And it's because this is a number card that indicates that this is an immediate sort of a thing. This is like right now, but it's not going to take a whole lot of effort. It's not a big deal because it's a number card. So it's saying this is what you need to fall back on, is your ability to communicate and find ways of dealing with conflict and take the actions and say the things necessary to get through them. Because threes are inherently creative energy, even in the field of thought and conflict with the swords. Okay? So the three means just deal with it. Talk. And then we get here to the Page of Swords, which is a step up from the numbers. And that means this is more of a quality of it's a quality that you have in your behavior or your thought processes, but they're not too deeply ingrained. But it also can represent someone else and their sort of general attitude. And the page is very sort of open, inexperienced, doesn't know which way to go. And this is actually a good point about the image, getting a little specific about these page cards, is they tend to show their feet facing in two different directions, straight out, which is actually very symbolic of not knowing which direction to move in. And that's because of youth. That's because of being young and inexperienced and not knowing what you need, really, and being a little indecisive. But it's not bad. It's just that you're learning, but you want to learn. The pages are all very enthusiastic. They want to learn. So this page is pulling his sword. He's got it out of the sheath. He's kind of like, he doesn't quite know what to. He's just got it out. He may be putting it back in. He may be taking it out. You're not quite sure, because he's not sure what to do with it yet, because he doesn't quite have the experience, but he wants to, and he wants to take the advice of the 3 card here and use it and put his communication abilities into action. He's just hesitant because he doesn't have a whole lot of experience doing it. And so that's sort of the holdup. Okay. But it's not a bad holdup, because the page learns very, very quickly. That's why this card is there. The page is very close to saying, oh, I get it. Okay. So the page's willingness to learn, combined with the sense of, I'm just going to do it, means that this page is probably going to turn around and actually go out there and confront the issue and use his or her ability to communicate effectively. Now we run into an issue here coming up with the King of Wands upside down. And that shows that, you see, the king represents a kind of a secure, sort of sense of confidence in his creative power and his authority and his sense of being able to control his passions, control his energy, and use it precisely and effectively. And so there may be something in the fire zone of your drive to be connected to a person that is running up against somebody who's a little remote and insecure. That could be an aspect of yourself, or it could be an aspect of this other person. But there's something where your drive, your desire for another person is meeting a little bit of a barrier, and there's a doubt about whether or not that is there. That energy is there fully. There's a worry about it. It could be a doubt about whether there's enough of it, or there could be a nervousness about, well, there's too much of it and I don't trust myself to handle it. Because that's what kings represent. They're able to handle these forces with confidence and assuredness. And you may not be feeling that, or the other person may not be feeling that. So that's why that card is there. But the overall sense of the reading is, in order to deal with this blockage, you're going to have to use your ability to communicate and talk effectively to another person, and to share ideas and to resolve conflicts, even though you may not know how yet, which is represented by the page. That's what we get, Hallie, from that. Peach, Penku, you are next. I have to get it. Hi, Peach. You're very welcome, Hallie. I hope that gives you something to, as they say, hang your hat on, and you can, it just gives you something to sort of look at. Oh, good, Peach. Smart. Yeah. Okay. You reacted without thinking with a guy you're dating when he asked to cancel today's date and place it for tomorrow. Visibly sad. Okay, understandable. I mean, I would be too. This is, anyone would be. You called him back to let him know that you appreciate him for still organizing. Yep. Extremely busy. He appreciated it. Place it for tomorrow. Well, let's see what. I'm going to shuffle the cards for a minute here so that. I mean, yeah. Dates are, they look. I think it's good that this is just my own. This is just me. Like if any friend of mine said this, I'd be like, well, if you are sad, then you should look sad. And that's good. And, you know, people, look, if somebody doesn't, if somebody doesn't want you to look sad when you are sad, and especially if it's about not, you know, if somebody, look, that just means you like the person. And of course you're sad if somebody, even if just 24 hours delay, of course. Now, if a person doesn't understand that and think of that as being a nice thing, that, you know, oh, this person was sad when I had to, that's actually, you know, I'm sorry she was sad, or he was sad. But that's really nice, you know. And the thing about that is if they don't think that, then that's something that's going to show up later probably, and you're not gonna want to go down that road anyway, you know, with a person that, you know, doesn't care about that. So, I mean, that's just me talking. That's not the cards yet. Let me get the cards, you know, going. Okay, this is good. Good shuffle. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you know, if you're sad about something, because about somebody that you want to talk to, then that's good. That's a really good positive thing. That's a human reaction. And so the other person seeing that, they'd want you to feel better, of course. And, you know, most people are really nice about, and so probably this person will go out of their way tomorrow to make you feel better about it and say, hey, I really appreciate you know what I mean? And if they don't, then it's just something to note down in your mind and be aware of, and, you know, you'll see how it plays out. But anyway, here we go. We have one card here, one card here. Okay. Oh boy. All right. We got swords, we got coins, and then we have a major Wheel of Fortune card here, right side up. The coins are upside down. This is physical. So, look, we're talking about a situation, a date, a plan got postponed. Very short amount of time. It got postponed basically 24 hours. So, first of all, we have your mind here and communication represented by the 7 here, by this symbol, the swords. The 7 is a number of trying to get to a better place, to lift, to elevate, and to put what you know and what you feel into some sort of use, largely for the benefit of a situation or for other people. It's an attempt to elevate yourself above your more common feelings and gain a little bit of a higher understanding of something, of a higher, it's almost like how they say you can't see the forest for the trees. It's almost like a way of saying, okay, I'm lost in the forest, but if I can get a drone to go up above the trees and look around, I'll be able to see where I am and if there's a road nearby. That's what the 7 is. The 7 is that attempt to try to get up and see things in a broader way. And so your thought process here, it's saying, you know, pay attention to that wanting to understand the situation. You're wanting to understand the situation in itself is an important factor here because it tells you something. And this card is saying that is probably the most important thing here, is you're wanting to elevate yourself up and get a perspective and understand the situation overall is incredibly fundamental to your personality. And it's what you really should pay attention to because it'll serve you well in the future. that ability to get up out of the thick bushes and see from above what's actually going on in a larger sense. So you can go, oh, I see what's happening here. Okay, so that the cards are saying pay attention to that skill you have and use it and rely on it because it will really serve you well. That's what that card is. Now here, this physical, the king of coins, again, a very sure, certain character, a character who's able to handle himself financially very well. So there may be something going on here where there's like job. You said somebody was very busy. Well, that fits right into the coins. It's all about work and busyness and doing the things you have to do on a daily basis to deal with the necessities. And this king upside down, this could represent this other person being a very self-confident person, but they've run into a jam and they're having trouble and they can't deal with things. They're not working out and they're having some struggle and they're dealing with a situation and it's causing a roadblock here. And that's represented by this. And this sort of looks like the heart of the problem, that there's a situational issue with some sort of necessary something or other, perhaps involving work that has interfered and needs to be dealt with. And it's a court card. So this indicates that this could be a little bit more of a consistent issue to pay attention to, not just in one day, but to make sure your eyes are open about it down the road a little bit. That's why it's there, right there in the middle. So it's saying use your ability to get up above the trees and look at the situation and see if this difficulty here with financial or work or circumstances, see if this difficulty is something that might be a little consistent, a little maybe happening more than once. Now, here you have a big one, the Wheel of Fortune. This is a much more long-term thing to pay attention to. This is more sort of about how you, something to keep in mind for a longer period, and it has to do with yourself. It's much more inside the way you do things or you think about things. The Wheel of Fortune is about change. Things are changing. But what's interesting about the Wheel of Fortune is you've got these like kooks hanging on the wheel, these weird animals, and it's got a handle. It's got a little handle here, okay? Someone has to turn this to make it work and to make these guys rotate and move around. So the forces of life that you encounter, the situations you're in, this thing needs to turn, and the only way it's going to do that is if you do it. Move it. It could perhaps fall in a direction, but the handle is there for a reason. And these guys are pretty much going to balance this thing if it's left there just standing. So somebody has to reach in with the handle and crank it and make it move. And that indicates that this could be a turning point. You know, this moment you find yourself in with another person trying to begin something, it could be a big turning point. And the card is saying, keep in mind how these big turning points in life happen. They do happen. And you have to think about it in the long term. 20 years later, you look back and you say, remember that time when we were going to go somewhere and then you said, no, I have to postpone till tomorrow. And I was all upset and I didn't want you to know, but I'm sure you noticed. And then the other person says, well, actually, yeah, I did. And I didn't know what to say. But you've been together for 20 years. See what I'm saying? So that card is like, hey man, if you resolve this, if you use that ability you had to get up above things and communicate based on what you observe, and you're able to deal with the situation and even if it's a longer term one with this other person and their circumstances that are annoying, and you're able to deal with that by being very open, which you have been. You expressed your sadness, you couldn't help it, the person knew. That's what this thing is saying. This is what happened. You expressed it. It was communicated. But this will all work to resolve these little roadblocks. And then you will be able to achieve these changes in life. And, this doesn't make any determination about whether it's positive change or negative. This could indicate that you need to end something else that's been going on in order to move into this next thing. But you need to do it. You need to use your ability to move life forward and not stagnate. And that's what that card is really pushing at. It's really telling you to do what you need to do. And things will change. That's what the card means. So it doesn't mean there's any urgency here. Like, oh my gosh, push to call again and say, oh my God, are you sure about tomorrow? No, it's not saying that. It's saying that this could be a moment where if you wait and you express yourself honestly and openly to someone, like this suggests you should here, that tomorrow, maybe that's a time to be just very open and use your talents at communicating, and things will move forward in the direction that your life you will find to be the way they should go. Oh, something you are. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's, move on from that's, who of us have not been through that, right? Like we've all had that where you're trying to leave something else and it's hard. And then something new comes and you want to see what that is, but you're still not quite finished with getting past the first thing. Yeah, that's that's the story of life, right? Yeah, big tower moment. Yeah. So, look, I think just in a few little things you've said, usually people who say something like, I expressed my sadness, you were visibly sad. And yet, you told him you appreciated him for organizing. See, that's why you got this 7 card. Because you were sad, but at the same time, you were able to express appreciation for what he'd rescheduled, which is this card. This is you being able to rise above your sad feelings in the moment and use your communication abilities and get control of your thoughts and say, hey, I appreciate that. So that that character that you have is going to actually help you not only in dealing with love relationships, that's going to help you professionally. That's going to help you in all aspects. You just probably don't know it yet. So there you go. All right, Peach, I hope that is useful to you. And now there is Jacqueline the Scorpio. Jacqueline the Scorpio. That's a cool name. Jacqueline the Scorpio, you can ask question. I'm shuffling the cards as we speak. Oh, let me get the tarot cow. Just real quick, I'm gonna put the tarot cowboy back on the screen. See in the spiritual, you know, in the little room. See, he's got the tarot cards in front of him. I'm shuffling the cards, Jacqueline, getting ready. Peach, you're very welcome. It's interesting. I like the way, you know, people on Twitch who come for these readings. I've found that they're very good at expressing themselves. It's very interesting to me. Are you writing your question, Jacqueline? I just want to make sure you know you're up. Oh, I will? Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready, Peaches. I'm ready for the... Some interesting people are going to come. I don't know if Jacqueline's still there. I mean, did I? Yeah, Jacqueline. I don't see Jacqueline saying anything. Jacqueline joined the queue list. Okay, so Jacqueline, I'm gonna skip over to Odeka. Odeka, your turn. I'm shuffling the deck this whole time. This is going to be very, very well shuffled tarot deck. Okay, Odeka, you're missing someone a lot. And you're not talking right now. But you wonder what he would want me to know. His initial is L. This is a very interesting question. It's literary. It's like you could write a novel from that question, Odeka. I'm missing someone a lot, and we're not talking right now. But I wonder what he would want me to know. His initial is L. That would be a great line. First line in a novel. Okay. The tarot is going to, it can't help but talk to you about what you should know. All right. I'm going to switch over to the cards for you. I'm going to lay them out. All right. Odeka. We have two majors and a court card. Two are right side up, one is upside down. What you are wanted to know. Wands. Passion. That the feeling, when you love someone, there's the heart, there's love, there's the emotional, but then there's also that drive, that passion that drives you to creatively find ways to be with them, to engage with them, the sort of fire. That's the wands are the fire symbol in the tarot deck. So that is the instinctive force that you feel pushing you to want to be with somebody that makes you, jealous when they're not there. It makes you angry. It makes you, all those things that are all so hard to deal with around this kind of thing. That drive, that energy is represented by the wands. And you've got the Queen of Wands, who's able to be nurturing and handle her feelings, her drives, her instincts, and to understand them and work with them and not let them carry her away. But she's upside down here, so that's not necessarily the control here hasn't necessarily always been that good, or maybe it's that there's some problems dealing with these drives, and maybe it could represent that they're not there enough in some way. They have gone away. It could also mean that they're just simply not understood well at the moment, that you're not fully in connected sense with them. And so what somebody wants you to know is that maybe, there's a hold up there with this sort of passionate drive to be close. And there's a lack of understanding about how that's been working. And it hasn't quite been handled or dealt with. So it's been kind of pushed down or aside. And so that's that. The card is here on the left, and that's saying, well, this is a factor that maybe has been there for a while, and it's something to try to move past. And the cards are saying in the middle here, which is the central part of all this, temperance. Now, temperance, you're seeing an angel here pouring liquid back and forth, but what the indication is you balance things out and you mellow things down, and you mix the waters so that they're not, one isn't too, one, like one might be wine, the other might be water. You mix them and you get things so that they're kind of like a little bit more even keeled, a little bit more placid and calm. And this is a major card, so that's saying, it could be another person saying to you, you know, you do that. You have that ability. You make people feel comfortable. You're able to sort of temper situations and emotions and make them easier for people to take and to understand. So sort of calming these feelings is the quality this set of cards is asking you to think about. It could be this other person maybe wanting you to know that that part of you is something they really, really like and admire, and really use that in this situation. And maybe because of these passions that haven't been understood or well handled before, maybe this quality you have of being able to sort of calm things down and approach things with a gentle kind of an understanding is what you need here. And moving forward, you come into the no-name card, also commonly known as death. Now, obviously in this situation, we're not talking about somebody jumping off, a diving board and dying. We're talking about real, profound ending of things and change. And the death character, or the no-name character, is, and what a lot of people miss about that, he's a reaper, but it represents a metaphorical farming. And it's the use of the past. It's the use of it and what ends and dies as fertilizer in the soil for what comes next, to make the next thing that grows in that field more and more rich and robust. That's what that card is really about. It's about moving out of one thing that you don't need anymore, and the experience from that allows you to grow the way you should for the next thing. Now, it's possible that this is saying, these feelings have been hard to handle, but you're able to handle them because you have that nature in you, and you're able to balance these things out and resolve them to everyone's benefit. And ultimately, what comes of something ending is preparation and a feeding of the earth for the next thing that is going to emerge. So one cycle may be ending and another beginning. And maybe this is a process that you need to understand and think about as actually being a very beneficial one that's hard to see in the moment. Now, this doesn't mean that this specific other person is telling you that this thing is over, move on. The cards aren't that specific. It could mean that this situation we're in is going to be resolved and die off, and this situation is ending, and the next thing we're going to do together is going to flourish. All the tarot is saying is the general dynamic of the process is what you need to be aware of. How you apply that to the specific circumstances is up to you. But the general process that you're going to be dealing with, that the tarot and maybe this other person want you to think about, is this difficulty with dealing with instinct, passion, and drive. Your feelings about how your reactions, your ability to express your passionate longing for someone. Those difficulties can be handled and dealt with and resolved by your general character and your skills in that area, which end up making everyone feel better, including yourself, and will allow this process of natural death and birth and rejuvenation to proceed. So Odeka, yeah, that's what and I would say in this situation, from my perspective, the tarot is wanting you to know that this other person, it's possible that they are thinking along similar lines. It's really not possible to say specifically what someone else is thinking, but this is a process that can't possibly hurt to be generally cognizant of. Good, Odeka. Yeah, it's not easy to not, when you miss someone a lot and don't talk to them, it's a hard thing. But remember that Temperance card. That middle card, that's your ability to maintain a balance, keep your personal self sort of calm and secure and serene. Serenity in your own self. And it will allow you to move past whatever you need to move past, and it will only serve you as food for the next thing that has to sprout up. Hey. Yep. All right. I hope that does help, Odeka. Now, Virgo Senpai. Virgo Senpai. I think I'm saying that right. You're very welcome, Odeka. Virgo Senpai, it's your moment. What is Virgo? Oh yeah, Virgo. Senpai. Am I saying senpai? Is that right? I'm shuffling and shuffling. Ah, okay. Thank you for the follow, Odeka. Oh, and thank you, Peach. Yeah, I keep looking. I'm still getting used to looking at these lists and stuff. Oh, thank you, Peach. Virgo, you can ask, you can do whatever you want. You can be as general as you like. You can just, if you want to ask something, you can ask. The only thing to just keep in mind is tarot it won't tell you specific things to do or what's going to happen, stuff. It's more, it has a general tendency toward being intuitive, and it is more things to sort of say, keep this in mind, and remember that you have these parts of yourself. So, Virgo, you just tell me how you want me to approach it. If you just want me to be very general, just let me know. It's up to you. I'm the worst shuffler. Okay, here we. You said recently you've been thinking about this guy you met in college, and was hoping he would still be interested by the time by the time we got back. Okay, so basically, it's simply you met someone. Time has gone by, and you're just hoping that after some time goes by and you meet again. There will still be something there. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Man, yeah, college is the time frames and stuff there and distances. Yeah, I remember that. Okay. I've been shuffling this whole time, so we've got a fully shuffled deck. And you have his number, and he said he's very busy. Okay, well, very busy, so we haven't spoken since the first week. Okay, well, all right. Let's see what the tarot suggests we keep in mind here. Wow. You've got 2 wands cards and a coins. Okay. One of the wands is upside down. This one in the middle. Wands are the fire, the passion, the drive to be with. Yeah. And this is the physical. And it's also, this fits in with what you mentioned. You said something about him being busy. Pentacles are all about being busy and working, making money, that kind of thing. This is the Queen. This is kind of an important card because this is kind of a slightly longer term than these. These are more short-lived right here. But this is more of a person, sort of personality-based, an aspect of yourself, most likely. And this Queen, she's got things handled. And she handles things in a way that make the family or make anyone around her feel good and safe. So that means she takes care of making sure the house, the job, the office, things are good, stable, and comfortable for people. If she's a boss, she knows how to make people feel secure. And she's calm, and she distributes things evenly. She's fair, and people can do well and be secure financially around her. So basically, her sense of organization, and she nourishes people. She helps people. She makes them want to be around her, to work near her, to live near her. She shares, okay? She's open with her resources, her money. She doesn't just throw it around, but she's very, very competent and careful, but she's able to make people feel good and safe, okay? And this is going on. This is an aspect of you and this situation that's reliable. And that's why it's here on the left. This is something you can sort of assume. And because of the structure of your question, you're wondering if he'll still be interested. You have a solid sense of physicality. So this is not only work and money. This is physical. This is everything about a relationship that involves practicalities, the body, health, work, jobs, money, all of that. How it swirls around. Who's busy in the month of May, who's not. It's all in this card. But there's a sense here of a calm approach to understanding how this works. She's also very she's looking straight, she's holding it up in front of her, and she's basically going, She's examining it. Now, this message here could be, let's talk about this busyness. This busyness is about work usually. When people say I'm really busy, that's usually what they're referring to, is something to do with work. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to say I'm really busy going to the movies. They want you to feel like they're really busy with work. It's a very common thing to say. Where I live, we kind of call it the busy disease. And so the card is saying rely on your ability to handle these things calmly and expertly, and use those skills to examine this situation. Okay. Now in the middle, we have wands, which is the creative fire, the passion that you may have for someone or something, the drive you have. It's creative energy also. But it's upside down, and it's the 10, and it's the ability to say something is done. I've finished. I've gotten there. I made it all work. Time for the next thing. Well, it's upside down. You're having trouble finishing. You're having trouble saying, you know what? This thing is done. I'm ready for this next thing. That's stuck. You can't quite get there. You can't get past the 9, which is having to persevere and do the things required to finish a project or finish a relationship or build a relationship. But you're having trouble getting to the last thing where you can go, I did it. I can go out and relax and have a good time and rest now. And I can say, I'm ready for, come on, next thing, let's go. You're having trouble doing that. And so that's why this is upside down. But then over here, that leads in to another 7 has popped up. It's a 7 of wands, and it's saying, okay, wait a second. If you just stop for a moment and you look at all this passionate, creative energy you have and apply it and kind of try and get a better perspective on it and put it to use in your own world for your own purposes. Put that drive, all that passionate energy you have to use in a beneficial way, and it could mean beneficial for yourself. That's what the tarot here is advising. So it's saying, look at this practical situation that has been presented to you carefully, and remember how smart you are about this kind of thing and how you know the story. This queen ain't stupid, man. She knows exactly what the story is. Just admit to yourself that you are her. And you do understand things. You do see them. And just have a look at them and see that, well, if there's a blockage here on finishing something, the best way to resolve that is to use these energies I have, these passions that I know drive me and sometimes get a little out of control and concern me maybe, but use them in a way that I know is helpful to me. And that is the advice here. So I think what the tarot is saying is there's time here you have, and these energies are yours to use and finish things off so you can move to the next thing, and use them the way this very self-confident person here, who you fundamentally are, use them the way she would, with a kind of a wisdom and an understanding. And look at the circumstances here. Look at this busyness. Look at this time frame. Look at this situation clearly for what it is. And apply the energy you have, the passions you have, where they will elevate you and where they can be applied in the moment. That's why these are number cards. They're suggesting in the moment. They're suggesting immediate now. Don't wait. Apply the energy now, where it will benefit you now. So the reading kind of suggests that the waiting for something down the road may not necessarily be what's that important in the moment. That what's in the moment here, more short term for you, is the more important angle. I think the tarot is saying, hey, you know what? You are her. You're very, very sharp, very solid, very dependable. You understand how things work. That's what's really going to go through here. That's what's happening here. And, you know, the inability to finish something or leave something where it was here is going to resolve itself because of all this passionate energy you have, as long as you apply it in order to elevate this person, this solid, very intelligent, capable person here, who's fundamentally a major aspect of your own personality. And the idea here is, if you are doing this, if you are applying these energies to what makes you work best and brings this persona out more, then that other person will be all the more interested. That's always the way it works. People lose interest in people who aren't their full selves. Those are the implications of this reading. Virgo. I actually like that Queen card, the Queen of Coins. That's actually one of the court cards I like because of her way of. Oh, thank you, Virgo. Yeah, these I know how these things are, and here's the thing: when you are waiting for someone else, here's another little coloration of this reading. when you're waiting for someone else and wondering what they are going to feel, you can lose a little track of yourself. You got to remember what this card is representing. This card being this very special person who has an incredible influence on people, cannot be forgotten. She has to be relied upon as primary. So I hope that gives you a few little shades of, how tarot works. It gives you little shades of meaning. It gives you hints. It gives the hints, like the little nudges, so that your brain can go, oh, I get it. I see something now that I didn't think about yesterday. All of a sudden now oh yeah, there's another way of looking at this. That's what tarot does brilliantly. Man, I swear talking makes me thirsty. Ooh. This is why whenever you see when you see people giving speeches at podiums, they have a water bottle. Oh, look, so yeah, that's it. Tarot is very fascinating to me. Really fascinating. I should probably close the queue because I don't think I can. I don't think I can keep my. You know what it is? I think I burned. I think I burned my tongue earlier on some soup. I was like, I think it was just a little too hot, and so I can tell when I drink like cold water. I don't know if you know that feeling. It's like, darn it. I had like a bowl of soup. It was, I think the first few spoonfuls were just a little too intense or something. Just slightly, not bad. Just like, I just singed a little bit. So you can't quite taste things right for like another day or so. Oh yeah, Virgo. I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what tarot will do. It's not me, man. Tarot just reminds people of. It just reminds you. It's brilliant. I don't know. It's like it's just you don't even need me for that. You could do it yourself with a tarot deck. You could see that. You could look at that and Yeah, an ice cube. Yeah. But yeah, you could look at tarot. Although if you've never seen a tarot deck before or something, it might be a little confusing. But especially this deck, these cards can confuse. They're very symbolic. Like they're not like the Rider-Waite deck that has pictures for these. Tarot Cowboy sits there forever, like with his hands on his knees, like, Oh, you bought a tarot deck and it disappeared? Yeah. I mean, you move a couple times or something and Yeah, that's the thing. And the thing is, tarot is one of those things where you buy a deck and you get enthusiastic about it for like 2 hours, and you read the little book, and then you're like, I don't quite get some of these. So, and you do like one or two readings, and then you're like, you look at the book to get the reading, and you're like, well, when you're reading, oh, the two of coins, and it means blah 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 blah. But that like gets tiring in your brain, and so you like put it down. You put it down. You go, you know what? I love having this. I'm going to put it on the coffee table. And then it's just there for like 6 months, and then yeah, you move and you throw it in some box, and it gets under everything else, and then it ends up like missing. That's how tarot works. And so what happens is, if you're interested in tarot, then you come back to it a year later. You go, oh, I remember this, and you open it up, you look at the book, and then you're like, you know what? You see a tarot book or something in a bookstore. You're like, I'm just going to buy that because I have a deck. I'm just going to buy it, and you just start reading it, and you get maybe halfway through, and then you put that down, and then another 6 months go by, and then you're like, oh, wait, I remember I bought this book. And yeah. And you start reading again from where you left off. You get a little bit more. And slowly, if you're going to sort of get into tarot, it slowly creeps up on you like that. And then finally, after you finish that first book, maybe, you're like, actually, I'm going to try and do this more often. And you start slowly doing it. And then you get it, and then everywhere you go, you're passing by places, and you're like, oh, look at that. There's a little box with it's a tarot deck. It's just sitting there on this shelf arbitrarily, and you're like, oh, yeah, cool, man. And you just buy it. That's kind of how tarot works. It's just slowly, out of curiosity here and there. And that's probably the way it should work, It's kind of an instinctive thing. It hits you at the right moments where you're open to that kind of thing in life, and then it shuts down again, and then it opens up briefly again, and then it shuts down, and it slowly dawns on you that maybe I am interested, and I will sort of stick with it and learn more and more and get comfortable with it. But it's a slow process. I think there are very few people that just go, oh, tarot. Yeah, I'm fascinated. I'm going to study it for the next 2 years, and boom, 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 I'm really good at it. I don't think that's really the way it usually works with people. It didn't work that way with me. So. I got to work on my tarot cowboy's face. He's looking a little beat up, isn't he? Jeez. He looks like he fell off his horse or something and landed on his nose. Have him write in his notebook. He's going to say, tarot readings in Saint Denis shop. I did some readings for nice people today in the shop and was impressed with their knowledge and ability to communicate. There. Now I'll save the note in my notebook, and I've got my little notebook out and I'm writing, and I can go back in at any time and open this notebook and come back and read my little note. I can even drop it on the ground or put it on a wall or something. There you go. Nice little thing to do. Now let me put my notebook away. See? The Tarot Cowboy. Yes, a tomato in the sun. That's a good image. Okay, Peach. Absolutely. I'm very nice to have you come in here and get a reading, Peach. And I like the things you've said. So have a very good night. See you soon. Yeah, this Tarot Cowboy, actually, this little shop is a tiny, tiny, tiny tip of the iceberg of this vast world that he can move through, going all sorts of places, up into the mountains. He can go into mines. He can go on boats across rivers. He can go through forests, and he can go into the desert areas. It's really, really massive. Here's the map. He is right here. That's him, sitting in that little building in the shop. This is an enormous world. See? Look at that. And here he is in his little shop. Yeah, I know, Virgo. It's good. I've spent a lot of time over the past year doing things for this game. Like you just saw, the notebook. That's a script that I wrote for it. And it's really a lot of fun work. But it's very hard to find people to come in to join it and actually use it. But I'm willing to keep it running. I'll just keep it running and use it. I like doing little things like this with it. It makes a nice little scenario for doing real tarot readings like tonight. So that's fine with me to keep it going and then see if people slowly start to trickle in to come and play in this world, which would be great. But if they don't, I don't really mind that much. There's always a use for things that one makes. You make something like this, you put a lot of energy into it, and then you find other uses. If one use doesn't really work out, then you're like, well, okay, you know what? I'll use it in this way. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually find some more ways of using it within the context of tarot readings. There's some other cool things that I can make it do to create some interesting little things. There are tarot cards in the game, and this is another script I wrote, and it's a real reading also, but it's here, tarot card. So if I use, boom, 3 cards come up, and it picks them randomly, and it does reversals. This one's upside down, and it's a real reading. And if there were another player in this room with me, I could say, show cards to the closest person, and this reading would pop up on their computer screen for their character. And so then I could do the reading for them, and they'd see the cards I was talking about. So that's a way that you can use something like this that's taken a lot of time to build, but I can use it. Like last night, I did readings right here on stream using this digital way of drawing 3 cards. Because what I did is I wrote a program that takes all has 78 images of the deck, the same deck as I'm using tonight for these readings, and it pulls 3 randomly and then randomly decides if they're upside down or not. So it's a real reading. And it's fun sometimes to do it this way. Yeah, this is why I mean there's ways of using these things that you can always find something good, a way to apply them. And what I have also sort of found about streaming is that when you do tarot, if you're doing it seriously, the people that you meet, it's a very people tend to be very communicative and open, and it's very interesting sort of exchange, and I think that's very important in a tarot reading. You can't make a tarot reading just be a mechanical thing, like for, you know, you have to have a sense of how you're connecting, even if it's through chat. You have to have an instant sense that you've got a way of connecting with that person, because that's how the tarot works. That's the only way it's going to work, is if the person reading has a sense that they are connecting to the person they're talking to, because that's the only way the cards are going to connect. Trying to get my... I have music that plays. So anyway, let me close this and get out of the candles and get burned. Let's see what's going on. You know, it's funny about the tarot category on Twitch. It goes up and down. Like sometimes there's like only one person, and then all of a sudden there's 12. But there's something very interesting about doing tarot readings on stream. And, you know, to be honest, I have not quite figured it out yet. It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm sort of exploring and experimenting with what it actually is, because there's something in it. There's something in that. There's something that works about it to my crazy brain, but I want to sort of figure out what it is and how to make it better. You know, I think there's something to dig deeper in with doing tarot this way. Yeah, it does depend on the time. Yes. Like I checked in earlier today. Like I think it was somewhere around like 3 o'clock my time or something like that. I think there was only one person streaming in the tarot category, but there's never a whole lot. It's always like the max is like, I'm gonna say maybe the max I've ever seen was 20. That might be pushing it. I have streamed doing this thing I was talking about, the whole world here. I have streamed all of that, like exploring and doing things, and I will again, but I sort of feel like doing things within the context of tarot is the correct thing to be doing now. Well, I think with my burned tongue, I've probably injured it worse by talking too much. So I should probably wind down. And tomorrow is Thursday. I'm going to come back and do this tomorrow at the same time. It works well for me right around this time. So yeah, I'm going to come back tomorrow and do it and see if I can have like another little, I don't know, maybe I can spend a little longer here tomorrow. Oh, I want to see something. So there's one thing I want to check. I'm going to walk outside. Yeah, I knew it. It's raining. See that? It's raining outside the shop. There's my horse I came in on. There you have, see, the shop. So, I know it's kind of goofy, but whatever. All right, so I guess I should wind it down and close up the shop for tonight. And it's been a real pleasure. And Virgo, really nice talking to you. And have an excellent, excellent rest of the night and tomorrow and the week. And I will definitely be back here tomorrow evening to do more of this because I'm really, really enjoying it. And so good. All right. It's been a really great evening of tarot. I'll see everybody later. I'm going to say have a good night. See you tomorrow, Virgo. Have a good one, okay?